For amplifying in here? Oh, okay. Alrighty. Good morning, everyone. I think we should get started. We might have more people joining us later, but it's about time. We will have more people join us online as well. Thank you for coming here on a Saturday rainy morning. I'm sure it will worth your time. We have a great speaker. We've met a lot of valuable information to share with us today. My name is Jade Lee. I'm the project manager for Multicultural Economic Participation Forum. Wow, I said it without any error. It is a long name, I apologize, but it's necessary because we have to hit a few key words. Well, multicultural and also economic participation, because that includes both employment to look for jobs that's out there and also create jobs for ourselves in terms of entrepreneurship. Given the current economic situation in Tasmania, I think we need both to hit the key points. I'm one of the initiators for this project as well, because several cultural group advocates and me over the past year sometimes start conversation about how we can help to create more opportunities for the multicultural community. We feel that as a community-driven force, we need to get ourselves out there to show other interested parties what kind of resources and demands are available in the community level. Then we can match with the government resource and other service provider to find the best solution. Today is the first session of our second round. We already had 5 Saturdays in the past 5 Saturdays to talk about what's out there for Tasmanian economy, what could be the jobs of the future. Because if we go out there and can't find work, that means maybe there are jobs, maybe we should create positions that's suitable for Tasmania's future. After that 5 round sessions, some interesting ideas came to mind, like renewable energy, and then healthcare, which does not only mean we look after people as physical, helping them physically. It could mean all kinds of support, technology, design, or maybe some other parts. We have to get creative. And then also education and maybe IT industry. So it's worth exploring to open up our minds. Our videos are still in the process of being uploaded onto our website for the previous 5 Saturdays. So once it's ready, we will send emails to all the participants so you get to see what has been talked before. Today, the topic changed to what are all the resources out there to help us to either find employment or start our own business. Because there are many different kinds out there. I've done some homework in the past several months, and it's still quite messy, in my understanding. My mind cannot quite grasp the whole roadmap yet. So very fortunately today, we have Mr. David Orchid here, will give us an overview of all the kinds of resources out there. And then we will have Mr. Ian Whitehouse to help us to facilitate discussions. Maybe we will pick out individual cases here. What are your specific demands? What kind of question you have from your background? And then see if we can help you to identify the resources suitable for you, become case studies. Lastly, before I finish, I'm actually supposed to say that in the beginning, some housekeeping issues. Emergency exit, this one, next to the computer, piano, sorry. And then if you need any toilet, it's out of the door to your left. And then remember, during COVID time, we need to observe the restrictions. So 1.5 meter from each other. And also, if you have any cough or sneezing, cover your mouth and nose. Thank you. Now I would like to welcome Mr. David Orchid to tell us what are the available resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'll just get this up. Okay, hello and welcome everyone, and thanks for coming out on your Saturday to hear plain old me speak. Just as a bit of background on myself, my name's David Orchid. In the last 2 weeks, I've taken on a new role as the Southern Tasmanian and Hobart Employment Facilitator for the Department of Education, Skills and Employment. Prior to that, I've spent about 10 years in government, but I started my career as a trolley collector at Woolworths, picking up the trolleys and taking them through to for everyone to do their shopping. I've done a whole range of jobs. I've worked in call centres, I've been a barman, I've been a blackjack dealer, I've sold mobile phones, I've done all sorts of things, and now I'm a public servant. Goes to show anything's possible. So I was asked today to come and talk to you about really what are the supports and opportunities around either identifying what are your skills, what are your career opportunities, but what are also the other avenues for finding jobs and finding information. And I thought I'm probably not the best person to talk to you about that. So I've got a video, and the video is a lady by the name of Alexis, and it's available on our website, and I've provided in your handouts today a link to it. But I wanted to run this video for you first because they have a lot of really good and useful information within there. And then we'll pick up on those themes after the videos run. So it will run for about 10 minutes. Now, I'll just make sure with my IT colleagues, I am sharing the screen, am I? Yep, okay. All right, so let's play this video and then I'll come back and I'll have a much better chat to you. I can share now? Okay.
Application window.
Application window. Okay, can you see it? Yep, okay. All right, so here's the video and I'll talk to you again in a minute. Oh, we need some volume.
Where the jobs will be, and what this means for you. I'll also share some information on what employers are looking for, which I hope will help your chances of finding a job. Nobody knows exactly what the future will look like, but we do have a pretty good idea about some things, including the types of jobs that will be needed and the skills you'll have to have. Right now, with the coronavirus pandemic, we're facing uncertain times. While this might make it difficult for a while, particularly in the hospitality and tourism industries, for example, it won't last forever, and there are still many options open to you. So let's begin. When we refer to the jobs market, we're talking about the businesses that are hiring, the jobs that are available, and the people and skills needed to do those jobs. Like most things in the world, the jobs market doesn't stay the same for long. Even before the coronavirus pandemic, the jobs market has been impacted by many changes, including new technology, globalization, population pressures, and lifestyle changes. There's a lot of talk about the jobs of today disappearing, which is not quite true. Yes, some jobs have disappeared, such as the local milkman who used to deliver milk to your door, but it also means new jobs appear, like solar power engineers, big data analysts, 3D printing designers, and drone pilots, just to name a few. Because of the changes in our population, we also know that most new jobs will be in providing services to others. Health, disability care, and social assistance will continue to be the biggest employing industry. It's a sector that offers a really wide range of roles and careers. Let's take work as an aged and disabled carer as an example. It driving them to appointments, and even helping them make connections in their communities. Of course, there are doctors and nurses in the health industry, but there are also radiographers, physiotherapists, and dental hygienists, right through to those vital supporting roles like chefs, receptionists, IT specialists, electricians, and gardeners. Other large employing service industries include retail, education, training, and professional services such as accounting, IT, or architectural firms. Along with jobs and services, there will also continue to be strong demand for workers in areas such as construction and manufacturing, or what are called the producing industries. Make no mistake, these are very large employing industries and will continue to offer many opportunities. But perhaps the key point here is that the demand in the future will be for skilled jobs. Our forecast shows that 9 out of every 10 new jobs over the next 5 years will require skills and qualifications learned after you leave school. Or put another way, 90% of these new jobs will require vocational education for university qualification. But more on that later. So far, we have covered the importance of looking ahead to the future and broadly across the industry. So what's the next step? How do you choose what to do next? Well, you need to do some self-reflection. When you are choosing your next steps towards a career, you should consider a range of things and not just look at the jobs that are in demand right now. Just as you would have before COVID-19, you need to plan your career based on your interests and what you are good at. There are 3 things you can do to help you find the pathway that is right for you. Firstly, do your research and explore your options. Hop onto the Job Outlook website. It has a career quiz and information about every occupation in the country. Have a look at the Job Jumpstart website, specially designed for students and young people. And check out study options at the MySkills and CourseSeeker website. Secondly, get career advice. That can be the career counselor at school, but also try talking to people in the real world. Ask them about their jobs and what they do. And lastly, try to get some work experience. All of these will help guide you. So to the burning question, what do employers want? They look for a mix of education, skills, experience, and personal attributes when looking for the right person. The first thing they look for is someone with the right education levels and qualifications. Finishing year 12 is the minimum, but as I said earlier, the majority of jobs now require advanced qualifications. Having the right education and training improves your job chances significantly. The unemployment rate for younger people who haven't completed year 12 is over 3 times higher compared to people who have a BEST or university qualification. While the university qualification opens the door to many career options and good pay, so does the vocational education. Apprenticeships, traineeships, diplomas or certificate level qualifications will also set you up for a rewarding career. Our research shows that people with a trade qualification can do just as well in the job market as those with a university degree. As an example, a tradesperson with a certificate 3-4 earns on average $30,000 a year more than someone who doesn't have any post-school qualifications. If you calculate that over the average 45-year working lifespan, that adds up to more than $1.3 million. Also, we know that many trades are currently in shortage, and we think this will continue in the coming years. So new apprentices and trainees will always be needed. So it's important to remember that university is not your only option after school, and that vocational education and training is not a second choice pathway. For the majority of employers, workplace experience is an essential requirement. Whatever the job, work experience gives you the opportunity to develop valuable skills and gain confidence. Those working at a supermarket checkout or at the deli counter have proven they can interact successfully with the public and work as part of a team. Communication and team skills are transferable skills, which means they can be applied in other workplaces. What you need to do is show how these skills apply to the jobs you're applying for. Work experience also proves that you are reliable, trustworthy, and you have developed skills that you can take to your next job. It also gives you references, so future employers can check that you will be the right fit for their business. Okay, so there is the challenge of getting job experience when you need experience to get a job. But if you can't get a part-time job, think broadly. There are other ways to get this experience. Volunteering, entrepreneurship, internship, school work experience programs, even helping out with your local sports club. To be employable, you have to add good personal qualities to your qualifications and experience. Great interpersonal skills and employability skills, such as the ability to work in a team, show initiative, think creatively, and solve problems, are valued as highly as technical skills. Our analysis of job ads shows that communication is the most commonly sought skill. Over 1/3 of job advertisements online will mention communication skills. Communication and interpersonal skills are developed through education and other life experiences, as well as in the workplace. They'll continue to be important in the future too, because of the growth in service industry. So now you know a bit more about the jobs market and what employers want. How do you actually find a job? Specialized websites are the most commonly used recruitment methods. They include jobsearch.gov.au, Seek, Indeed, Jora, Gumtree, and Career One, but there are many more. What you may not know is that many employers use their own company websites and social media accounts to advertise job openings. And over 25% of employers fill their jobs with someone they knew. So the good old-fashioned word of mouth still works. It pays to ask around and keep your ear out for leads with family and friends. What about some tips to apply for a job? There are lots of resources online to help you with how to apply for jobs, such as on the Job Jumpstart and Labour Market Information Bureau websites. First, have a short, well-written resume that highlights your skills. A winning application demonstrates how your work experience, education and training, and personal skills and qualities directly relate to the job you are applying for. And get someone who's good at writing and spelling to check what you've written. Secondly, make sure your application is tailored for each job. Do some research about the employer and the job. Make sure your application shows how your skills are relevant to the job and also how that makes you right for that role. When you make it to interview, be prepared for face-to-face, virtual online, or phone meetings. Each will require a slightly different approach, but no matter what, you'll have to make a good first impression. A few tips are, dress well, make sure your technology works beforehand, and don't do an interview from a noisy cafe. Do your research about the organisation and job, and do some practice interviews with someone you know is experienced at it. Because of the uncertainty at the moment, it's more important than ever before to complete your goals and plan further studies. Qualifications, experience, and great communication skills will be your springboard into the world of work and your future career. Thanks again for joining in. I hope the information I've shared today will help you.
I told you she could say it better than I could. Bear with me. She covered a lot, and really the key, and I'll go through a couple of the key points now. First of all, skills are important, but also that attitude and approach to your employers is also important. I'm going to just take you through some slides and talk about recruitment methods. And I know we're going to, sorry, Jay?
Can you make it bigger, please?
I can, sorry.
Yeah. I think bottom right in front of.
There we go.
Yeah, thank you.
There we go. Okay. So recruitment websites, jobs boards and so forth are still the most common way of that employers advertise their jobs. But in Tasmania and elsewhere, more and more often you'll find that word of mouth and networks across people is the way that people get jobs. And in Tasmania, particularly in more regional areas of Tasmania, that is probably the #1 way that someone will get a job. They know you, they hear about you, you introduce yourself. So it's not just about waiting for a job to be advertised, it's also for going out and finding those jobs. Think about maybe the employers that you would like to work for. Do some research and think about maybe approaching them. Direct approaches do work. Now, as you can see here, and Alexis covered it, signs in the window and newspapers, they're not things that happen as much anymore. Sure, they do still happen, but nowhere near as much. It's about going out and finding those opportunities, or Jade, as you alluded to, creating those opportunities, and I want to talk about that in a little bit. What's important? Obviously, presenting well, having the right skills, and doing your research beforehand is important. But you'll also find that when you're in front of an employer, you'll get your resume in and you might have those qualifications, but so does the other 20 people that have applied for the job. So it comes down to your personal attributes as well, your attitude, your preparedness, your address, the way that you approach employers is equally, if not more important. When I'm hiring people, and I hire people reasonably regularly, yes, everyone who's applied for it has the skills, but it comes down to the cultural fit of the organisation, or the way that someone presents is often what will get that person the job when I'm hiring. And I think that's really important that you think about that when you're applying for jobs. Your resume and your application will get you in the door, but your job interview is what gets you the job. And that's where it comes down to the way you present. There's no point showing up in scruffy shirts or 10 minutes late or smelling of cigarettes or anything like that. That's not what employers want. And it's worth looking at, maybe even visiting the workplace that you're applying for a job beforehand, just to, quietly observing, how people work and dress and act within the place will probably give you that leg up, or the idea of, what an employer is looking for within their organisation. Often employers will have on their website their values statements and so forth, and it's worth reading those. It's no point going to a job interview and not knowing anything about the job you're going for, so do your research beforehand. But also, of course, have your technical skills, and think about, even if you haven't worked for a while, looking at, as Alexis mentioned, your transferable skills. Today we had a group of volunteers come and set up the hall. The person that was meant to let us in didn't let us in on time. They weren't here when we showed up. And so there was some problem solving, there was some group work, there was some teamwork. They're all things that you can put into your resumes, even if you're not working. I was asked to talk really about where are those supports, where is that information that you can get to help either find your careers or find the skills that you need to build your careers. And there are a huge number of websites out there and available, and I want to take you through some of the websites that the department has made available. There's links in the presentations, and if you haven't got a copy of the presentation, there's some out on the table. And Jade, you're welcome to share the presentation afterwards as well. But there's a number of resources out there. It's not just one website, and I know it would be lovely to have a single shop, but there's many and varied websites out there. The first is about thinking about what sort of jobs and careers are out there, and the Labour Market Information Portal gives you a really good understanding and ability to look at different industry profiles and the different jobs out there. Aged care and social support is the biggest growing industry in Australia and in Tasmania, and they're predicting they need another 1.5 million people working in that industry in the next 5 years. Now, it's not just, as Alexis mentioned, changing bedpans or being a nurse or a doctor. There's a huge number of options out there. Gardeners, cooks, cleaners, so home assistants. There's a huge range of things out there. And the the industry profiles will give you some ideas of the types of jobs that are in those various industries, but also whether or not those industries are going to be growing or shrinking. There's no point putting all your eggs in a basket for a career that may not be there in 5 years' time. I think some of you may remember the age of the milkman. Certainly I do. I remember the milkman coming and delivering our milk each day, and in summer it was usually off by the time that we got it because it was sitting in the sun. But that job doesn't exist anymore, or very rarely exists anymore. Whereas there's a whole world of new opportunities out there, and service industries are certainly the growth industries out there. So I do encourage you to have a look at those websites and have a look at those career profiles. It also gives you information on a range of other pieces of data that might be helpful in your career aspirations. Job Outlook is a great website, and one that I really enjoy going to, and I do go to fairly regularly. The first thing is, if you're sitting there going, I don't know what sort of career I want, there's a career quiz, and the career quiz will help you. It will ask you a range of questions, and it'll then say to you, well, based on your answers to that career quiz, we think these are the types of jobs that might suit your personality, your skills, or your past experience. It also helps you match your skills. So if you're looking to change careers, for example, at the moment with COVID, a lot of people that were in the hospitality and accommodation industry have found themselves out of work because we don't have the visitors. There are plenty of transferable skills if you've been working in those industries They'll help you move into other careers and maybe help you identify also where there's maybe some gaps. So it might be that I'm really good at talking to people, I'm really organised, I'm able to, you know, communicate well, but I just need this extra thing to, and that would help me get into a job in, say, aged and disability care or disability or one of those services. And there's also a future outlook, and that's again looking at what is the future looking like as far as jobs and trends and what we think might be out there. Job Jumpstart is again about helping you try and work out what jobs might be good for you. And it might not be a job in the traditional sense. It might be about what business do I think I could open because I've got all these skills and opportunities. Where are the opportunities out there? I often talk to employers and you'd be surprised how many opportunities are hidden and out there. The example that comes to mind is I was up on the northwest coast of Tasmania at a place called Smithton. And I was talking to the owners of one of the big wind farms out there, and they were saying, we would hire someone every day to drive a car between Smithton and our wind farm to pick up our broken mobile phones that we dropped off the top of the towers, to pick up our laundry, to you know, do the errands that are around there. There are entrepreneurial opportunities everywhere. And in Tasmania, and at this time in Tasmania, there are huge opportunities for people to be creative and find those niche markets that are out there. So please do have a look at the Job Jumpstart website as well. There's also careers advice websites, and this one's around your career. So again, it's about being able to look at what are the opportunities out there and what skills or qualifications do I need to build on. And now again is a great time to go get some training. The government's response to COVID and also to the economic market is really about trying to help people upskill, cross-skill, or gear up for the future. At the moment, I've never seen so many free or cheap courses available, and people want you to get those courses. You can do them online, you can do them through TAFE, you can do them through university. There's a number of registered training organisations that are also offering those. And it's about, again, saying, look, I'd really like to work in warehouse. What do warehouse people need? A forklift licence. Okay, I'm going to go get my forklift licence. Or it might be, I want to get my certificate 3 in social care, or whatever it might be that is of interest to you. And again, this can give you that advice. Once you've decided what you want to do and you've worked out, okay, I want to do the forklift licence, there's also a website that will help you find the course. So the My Skills website is a website that lists all the available courses, and you can search by location and also search by type. So it's again helping you find, okay, I want to get my forklift licence. Who can give me a forklift licence, or who can help me get that? So there's a lot of information out there. Now, if you are looking for a more traditional job or career, certainly, as Alexis mentioned, there's a huge number of sources and sites out there, and just one of them, which I have to promote because it's by my department, is Job Search, which is set up as a free site where employers can advertise their jobs, and particularly those who are on New Start or was it now Job Seeker? Is certainly targeted to. But there's lots of others. There's Seek, Gumtree, Facebook. There's lots of career websites. Go out there and search. Go into your Facebook or your whatever it is that I use Facebook, I'm old. But yeah, lots of people, there are lots of those sites out there which help you in the careers. As Alexis mentioned, go on to the industry peak websites, go on to the employer websites. If you know there's a big employer starting up, go onto their website. They will be advertising their jobs, or they may just have a portal where you can put in your resume and expression of interest. A tip that I would give you is read the paper, and if you hear that there's, say, a new sawmill opening or a new whatever opening, they will usually tell you who that company is, and they may well be looking to fill some jobs. Certainly, with new hotels opening, they'll usually recruit 2 or 3 months before the hotel opens. So it's worth looking and having those, using those contacts, and don't wait for the job to be advertised. Go find the job. Now, I'm going to go off script a little bit because that's the end of my slides. How am I going for time timekeeper.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Right on the top.
Oh, excellent. So the other thing, of course, is entrepreneurship. And I do believe that you can make your own career and you can be very successful. And if you're going to do it anywhere, Tasmania is a great place to start your own business. As Jade mentioned at the start today, there are a huge number of supports out there. Within my department, if you are on a job seeker allowance at the moment, you can get support in starting your own business and get a Cert 3 or Cert 4 in a small business through the new enterprise incentive scheme. If you have got a job active provider or a provider that you're working with, talk to them about NEIS. They will help you not just start your business, they will help you create your business plan. They'll give you advice and you can earn additional money on top of your job seeker allowance while you're starting up your business. It's a 12-month program and they give you a lot of support. We also have the entrepreneurship facilitator here in the south of the state, Business South, and there's also one up in the north. But there's also enormous numbers of state government funded services, Business Tasmania, Switch, there's a huge range of them. And so there's lots of opportunities out there to be supported with business. The first place I would recommend you talk to is the Australian Tax Office's Small Business Support Service. They have an incredible website which helps you with everything from setting up your ABN and so forth. But first of all, talk to someone about your business idea. It may be that the idea you had is not a good business idea. And it's much better to find out that at the start than at the end. So there's lots of opportunities and supports out there. I might pause or stop there. I'm happy to take questions now or later. Jade, how would you like to do it?
How about I ask, not my question, but some points
Sure.
that have been mentioned before. You elaborate on that before we hand it over to Ian or the audience. When you mentioned entrepreneurship, you mentioned different resources. From what I know, there is enterprise with a Z, and then there are enterprise centers.
That's correct.
Can you tell us about their differences, how they operate differently?
Short answer, Jade, is no, I can't. Look, enterprise, I believe, is a business, and I believe they are giving business support. The enterprise centres, again, they were Tasmanian government funded, I think, initially, but they're also funded through my department as well.
Australian government, yeah. So co-funded.
Yeah, so really it's about finding those supports, and some of them are time limited, some of them can give more or less support.
Okay.
I believe one's also more IT focused. I don't know if you want to add more.
This one has a lot of IT.
Yeah, Jade, I was just going to say really quickly, Enterprise Centres Tasmania is state government funded. 5 hours of free support. You can talk to anyone to run an idea past, get some feedback on a suggestion. Enterprise has got some federal funding, which is more incubator orientated, is my understanding. But you're right, the Business Enterprise Centres is the Commonwealth program. And so we often, when we work with businesses, we often suggest they go to Enterprise Centres Tasmania and seek out their Commonwealth source, because that doubles roughly the amount of access you can get to the support you might need to start a business, or be told that perhaps it's not a great idea, and I agree, you should get that early. Can I just add 2 other things, Jade, just for your whiteboard?
Yeah, please.
So the ACCC have some fantastic videos, there's 10 of them, in relation to starting a business and your responsibility as starting a business. So again, a Commonwealth government support service. But the other one I was going to add to all of those wonderful links that were shared is employers are using LinkedIn a lot as well. So as we've heard today, it's really important to share your skills, your knowledge, and have the right attitude. But just to support our presenter today, you'll often see that LinkedIn is being used. So if you can build your LinkedIn profile, and if you are actively looking for somewhere, you might actually find someone advertising, or you might ask the audience, so to speak. So just a couple of extras.
Sure. Can you elaborate what's ACCC?
Australian Competition and Consumer Commission.
Competition.
Competition and Consumer Commission. I can give you the link, Jade, to share with everybody.
Sure.
But it's just that they look at the world a little bit differently, in the sense that they look at, if you do start a business, what are your obligations to your consumers? And it's really important. So the ATO is obviously clear. We all have to pay our tax and do it, I think.
Consumer. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Jade, yeah. But there are a couple that I would suggest are also very complementary and build on the earlier links, because if you don't know about them, there's so much out there. I think that's part of the trouble, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you, David, give us a category, what kind of, the kind of support? There's federal, they do this kind of thing, and they chip in for enterprise center, for example. And there's also federal funded for your position.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. So we're employment facilitators.
Yeah.
Look, from the federal perspective, I guess the categories really would be for those who are on job seeker. There is the funded employment providers that can assist you in linking into jobs, but also give you support. So some of them, so they may be able to, for example, fund a shirt if you needed a shirt. They may also be able to link you in with their networks of providers. So certainly they're available. I think then there's the websites and the self-service websites that I took you through today. So there is information on what skills are needed for the future growth of industries. There's also information about helping build resumes and prepare for interviews and those sort of things. There's, yes, the local jobs program. Yeah. There's also NEIS, which is the new enterprise incentive scheme, which is around helping people start their own business.
N-I?
N-E-I-S.
N-E-I-S.
Yep.
New enterprise
incentive scheme.
Incentive scheme.
Yep.
Do they all require a permanent residence with visa?
The vast majority will, yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. This is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or PR.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So those programs, yes, you must be, a citizen. But the websites, the ones that I've linked to, anyone can use those, and they are the same information that those people that are on Job Seeker or Job Keeper would be getting, and they will give you that leg up. There's then, I guess, state government funded, and state government has certainly got quite a focus on those that may miss out on the Commonwealth supports. And certainly state government has a number of those available as well. I'm not really the best person to talk to you about state government things because I'm federal. Yeah, certainly there are a huge amount available. And the place I'd probably point you towards is Skills Tasmania. Skills Tasmania can give you a lot of, there is information for job seekers, for skills, employment, and also employment opportunities there. And then of course there's, local government. Some local governments are quite active in the space. I know certainly in Burnie, they're doing a lot of work up there. But certainly local government can often have supports as well. And really your council website may be as good an opportunity as any to have a look at.
Yeah, I'll just mention to the audience, either on site or online, our previous several sessions, we invited City of Hobart and then Glenorchy to talk about their support. So we will upload the video soon, but the key point they mentioned is they not only facilitate these resources to their local businesses, but also they have their own program. For example, in Glenorchy's case, they have some projects. They have their own incubator projects. They have some corridor, a particular location. They're starting to think about, helping with business to come into those particular project locations. So it's worth to check out their website as well. And then both presentations from these two councils will be uploaded in our website as well. Yeah.
And I'll come to your question.
Yeah.
I was just going to add to the local ones too. Here in the south, there's the South East Regional Development Association, or SERDA, which is SERDA.
SERDA.
Yep. With it just an E after S. So SE.
SE, yeah.
Yep. So Andrew Heights, the employment facilitator,
Yeah.
so he's fantastic. If you haven't been out to see him and you live in that area, which is sort of the Sorrel and surrounding areas, he is a fantastic resource and he's well connected with business and industry.
Can you elaborate a little bit the kind of service this role provides?
So his role is really linking business with who are looking for jobs, looking for employees to find those employees. And he works with the job active providers, but he works with everyone. And he is well connected. He's supported very strongly by the Sorrel Mayor, who's Kerry Vincent. And he works in Sorrel, the Tasman, the Spring Bay area, and also, I believe, Clarence. There is a similar role currently being developed in Glenorchy. So the Glenorchy Council have a similar hub that will also be getting set up. And then there's a new one that's just been set up through the Southern Councils as well, which is looking after Southern Midlands, Central Highlands, the Derwent Valley and Brighton. And so,
is there a website somewhere we can look for all of these?
Yep. Yeah, Jade, I might just forward you some links afterwards if you like. Certainly if you Google CERDA, it will come up. And Andrew's phone number is usually on it. The other one is South East Councils. So SE Councils. SE Councils. Now they're fairly new. And then Glenorchy Council, if you probably just link in through the council themselves, they haven't quite recruited for that role yet. But again, they're out there to locally help join the dots between employers and employees and support business and people looking for work. So great resources to link in with.
So just key persons. So then my gut feeling is that region will have many people looking for jobs. One person.
He's very busy. Andrew's a very busy man.
How does he handle it?
But look, he's supported. So Andrew is sort of the glue, if you like. He's the person they'll go, oh, you've got some skills. And guess what? I was talking to the employer over there and he's looking for those skills. Let me make that link for you, or let me help you out. So that's what that's the greatness of this role. And those roles are very similar to the role that I'm going to be doing as well. So it's around trying to link up those that are looking for work with those that need workers. And that happens more often than not.
Okay, that's great. And then from what I understand, there are a lot of third-party employment service providers.
That's right, yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about that too? Because that's quite confusing to me when I'm
Certainly. So look, there's a range of employment service programs and providers out there. In Tasmania, there's 7 of them. So here in the south, we have Work Skills, we have APM, we have, oh now you're testing me, Max, and Salvation, is it Salvation Army? If you go to the Job Active website, you'll find those employment providers.
Job Active website.
So it's the Job Active website. And I think I've included a link in my presentation around that. And there's a service basically called Find a Provider. Now, again, they are for Australian citizens, but they are the ones that deliver the job seeker programs. There's a youth-specific one. There's really, the best place to look is the Department of Education, Employment and Skills website, www.desi.gov.au.
Yeah.
If you go to the programs page, it'll give you a link to all the different programs out there, but there's a lot of supports.
Yeah.
The Department of Social Services then also deliver services for those on disability support payment, or DES, and there's a lot of services out there as well.
Sorry, can I slow down a bit, go back to your department's website?
So www.D for dog, E for egg, S for Sam, E for egg.
.gov.au. And then go into programs.
Programs.
Okay.
And they'll tell you all the programs. Or the other thing you can do is when you get to that website, in the little search bar up the top, just write "Find a Provider."
Ah, okay. So just a little magnifying glass.
Yeah.
Say "Find a provider."
Provider.
Okay. all these details matter for
They
us.
do, they do.
Because, you know, as a new person, you would not know what to look for.
And
Yeah,
it is a
so-
challenge.
Yeah,
it is.
it is.
And look, even someone who's been in government 10 years and understands bureaucracy, I find new things every day. It's about going out there and searching things. It's about, you know, maybe trying something else. And it's about talking to other people. It's about going, well, what did I, you know, how did you do it? Because sometimes that will be the bit. Sorry, ma'am, I neglected to come back to your question.
People want to start a business. It's the same as if people were working, they need to get to work. They have to get to work. I wasn't sure what you were saying. I know that you can start a business even if you're not 26.
That's
right.
Very quickly, another point. I do think that our whole industry, you know, people, employers need to be thinking about diversity more. We did hear in the last forum, we're the least multicultural state.
Absolutely, by a long way.
And
Yeah.
I just feel that we're not, you know, like watching that video was so geared to, you know, totally Western thinking. And I think we need to think more in a diverse way.
Well, more forum like this to connect.
We need to get the employers so that they will produce a video information that is broader in its thinking.
Of course. Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
APN.
That's correct. Yes.
So these are not available to temporary visa holders, for example.
I'm afraid not. No.
Yeah.
No. The other place I would point you to, and I'm sure you've all engaged with them on many occasions, is the Migrant Resource Centre here in Tasmania, in
Yes.
Glenorchy.
Yeah.
They've done some fantastic work, and they've got a number of opportunities to either get some work experience. They've got their commercial kitchen that they do a number of activities on. I'm sure I'm telling you things you already know, but if you haven't reached out to them, they're in Glenorchy, and they are a great place to go and engage with if you haven't already.
The majority of their work is for people who come as refugees up to 5 years.
That's certainly what they're funded for.
Some programs.
Yep. Certainly under the humanitarian support program, that's what they're funded to do, but they have a wider view of that as well.
I noticed that too. Sorry, Clover, can I say something? Then I will get to you. Yeah, they have a few programs, like Yabo mentioned, that want to engage with wider migrant community. And hopefully, we will get more detailed information from them to come onto the forum. I did ask for it.
Yeah, I know, and that's the difficulty at the moment. These places are not partnering as well as they did in the past. Catholic Care is another organisation that does work with people who come as refugees and now is beginning to work in the broader sense. But there used to be a lot more networking, meetings, and these groups are just not doing it as they used to.
And look, to be fair, with COVID, a lot of organisations aren't allowed to. I'm technically not meant to be here today. At the moment, yeah, particularly in government-funded programs, a lot of them are saying, no, you can only engage, you know, via Zoom or via other things. And certainly it's prevented people moving
that's
around.
a blanket policy.
But yes, so look, but you know, there are certainly limitations where, as government, when we fund an organisation to do something, we do usually put a bunch of lines around the box of what they can and can't do. But you'll find individuals within organisations are also willing to come out and engage.
Okay. So can I try to summarize from
Sure.
all those resources that you mentioned before? Most government-funded programs are accessible to PR and then citizens. But as migrant or temporary visa holders, it's helpful for us just to go check the information that's on the website that can open doors and then make us to find the direction of future employment easier. However, I do want to add something that as a forum that's community driven, we can be a place to collect voices to advocate for more funding available for temporary visa holders. Yeah.
You can also be a forum for information sharing. And I think, you know, what attracted me to come today was this is a great initiative, Jade, and I congratulate you for getting it up on and running. But you as a collective are a very powerful voice as well. You will each go out and you'll find someone who's really helpful. And you share that with your colleagues and your friends. You promote it amongst yourselves. You'll find those programs or those organisations that can assist. And then you utilise them. And those programs and organisations can also then benefit because they have a demand for their services. So they can put that into their next grant funding too. So there's lots of opportunities out there. But yeah, there's also, and Jade, sorry, I'm probably going over time. Yes, there's a lot of information that is available on the website that anyone can access. And a lot of the programs and services that may only be available to citizens, that same information is on the website. And the beauty of this information age is most of what you get face-to-face, while someone might be telling you that face-to-face, you can read it yourselves. Most of them have translation services now available. Some of them are better than others as well, but you know, don't let that be a barrier. So, yeah.
That just makes me think of Tio, who is the interpreter here, and she mentioned yesterday when we met for a different workshop that there isn't much interpretation work out there. However, if more people uses websites, information like this, and say, hey, there's a bigger demand, you can approach those websites, say, do you want my service? Then you create work for yourself. Yeah,
there's opportunities everywhere. Yeah. Tasmania is in a place where we're about to boom. I was talking to Ian earlier, and yeah, COVID's horrible, COVID's terrible, but it's created a whole bunch of new opportunities, and we in Tasmania have a huge number of opportunities available for us. I wouldn't live anywhere else in the world, frankly. I came back.
Can you talk about it, Ian, the opportunities?
I've got a question, and it really picks up on your question, because I would agree completely with you. Are there groups or forums by which representatives from this particular organisation or collective can actually talk and speak and hear with employees? So we know that so I sat on a research committee yesterday for a particular industry. We know that the industries are really good at putting these groups together and maybe talking within themselves. But again, to take your point, they all look like me on that group yesterday. We're all getting a bit older, and we're all, Australia is where we were born for most of us. However, for many people in Australia, people have come from other places, my wife included. So are there forums that perhaps this group could actually approach or be involved with to better understand what some of the employment opportunities are, and perhaps build what I would say is the most important thing, is the relationship between the industries and the employers and those of us that might be seeking to make a job or find a job?
It's a great question. I don't have a definitive or official answer.
And I apologise for putting you on.
And I guess my initial thought around that would be, there are generally peak organisations that represent each of the industries out there, whether that be the Tas Fruit Growers Association or the Tas Mineral and Energy Council or any of those. There are peak bodies out there. ACTS is the great one around disability and care services. And I think they would like to hear from groups like this about what are the opportunities, but also what do you as a community offer? And I think that is certainly something I would be looking at. The other thought I had was probably around chambers of commerce. And there's certainly in most places a chamber of commerce that represent particularly small and medium-sized businesses, which may be another voice or avenue into being able to get that either getting them to come and talk to you about what their sectors are looking for, or what you may be talking to them about what you as a group offer. So I think,
Well, Sorel's a really good example because they've got business centre, a business council of Sorel.
Yes.
And Kerry Vincent talks at that quite frequently. So, Joe, that might be an opportunity for people to actually, maybe through some of the leaders within the group, to actually reach out. So rather than waiting for stuff to come to you, reach out. And I'm certainly, I mean, collectively, there's a number of us that will have some suggestions perhaps that we could share with you. Because I guess one of the things that I'm seeing is, I know you represent that data, but I'm actually seeing the reverse of that. So everybody in my employ in Tasmania came from somewhere else, except me. Okay, so just as an example, I'm seeing more of that. But when I came to Tasmania 31 years ago from the mainland, I didn't see that.
I look, and I'm exactly the same. I grew up in Tasmania. I was here in the 80s, left in the 90s, came back in 3 years ago. And Tasmania is definitely catching up with the rest of Australia and the rest of the world.
To some extent, but for instance, the government departments do cross-cultural training online. What's the point of that? You're not meeting people. It's that meeting people that we diversify. We haven't yet diversified enough. And this is, like, I'm in the middle of helping get an anti-racism campaign to get off the ground. We still need that. We still have such ignorance here, really. I know that we've come a long way. When I first came here, there was no yogurt.
That was said so beautifully too.
We've got a long way to go, and we must face the fact that we have got diversity, and we must employ it. We must embrace it a lot more than we've actually tried to do at the moment.
It's an interesting thing because, I mean, as I say, my wife was born in China, in Harbin. So what's your immediate response? What nationality is she? What's her heritage? What's your immediate response? Is she Chinese? No, she's not. That's my point. That's my point. She's Russian Ukraine. Now, she came to Australia when she was a young child, went to school, couldn't speak English. Like, she has her own story to tell and share, but she has crafted out her own career and her own purpose, and people that meet her love her, like, she's just fantastic. So yes, we are. I guess my approach is a glass half full approach, where I am an optimist. I mean, that's who I am naturally. And I make my contributions by volunteering on different association panels or groups, for example. But I've been fortunate. I've lived overseas. I work overseas a lot, and I've had an opportunity to be exposed to different cultures, which changes the way you look at the world, which is, But I think it's coming a long way, but I think there's opportunity for the groups. Like, we've heard today that we've got these fantastic resources, and yes, there are some limitations, but to start a business without PR, let's look at where the opportunities are. I would suggest.
I love the story actually. The new mic rate, personally, I'm only been in Australia like about 2 years. We all have to go through the hard course. Of course, it's a course. I move. That's my choice. Right? However, talking about majority policy, as we all know, a few years ago, Australia got the skill stream in original area. Tasmania is a majority of that. So then, not just individually, however, I'm talking about societally, that maybe more education, for the local to accept us, I'm going to say, and more, also, I understand would be the permanent residents and the citizens would have priority to get more help. However, the new migrants and the new refugees, newcomers, are actually the most struggle ones, because we don't have enough work permit, we don't have enough culture knowledge or everything.
So yeah, I was hoping there's more to come from.
Yeah, it comes through advocacy, like Ian said. And then it's great that you mentioned TICC, David, because yesterday when we were at that different forum I mentioned to you, we had a particular talk about peak bodies around here. Some of you were there yesterday, so if I forget, please remind me. There's THA got mentioned, Hospitality Association. Which one's aged care? I forgot.
AXA.
Ah, there you go. AC, what?
ACSA.
Yeah.
ACSA, AXA. And there's another one for disability.
NDA.
Yeah, there you go. NDA. Yeah. And then another one, I can't remember, but.
So there's also the Fruit Growers Association, so TFGA.
Nobody give me that picture later, okay?
And then there's also the Tas Minerals and Energy Council, so TMEC, TMEC.
TMEC.
Yeah, and there's 1,000 others.
And there's TESEC, which is the Tasmanian Industry Seafood Council. That's where I was yesterday.
There you go. So all those peak bodies, if they can start have conversation with forum like this, and we think about possibilities to change the available support resources, and under the liaison of officers like you and Andrew, etc., maybe we can get something together.
Don't just think about what they can do for you, though. Think about what you can do for them.
Yeah, we tell them what we can do, the skills, right?
Well, the skills, the experience, the diversity. Yeah, there's lots of things you can offer them.
I'll give you an example because you're absolutely. I believe you've got to get on the front foot because a lot of people read the press, they see the press, hear the headline, but they don't truly understand it. I would take your point. I think we should respect difference. We should really regard difference as being something we embrace. So that's the approach I take. I was actually at what we call just the Tasmanian Industry Council yesterday, one particular area that I give my time in relation to research. Statistics launched this huge thing about renewing employment in the industry because it's a sector where we've got a lot of older people, okay, and so they're actively looking for new blood and new people, and they've got forums or directions there. So growers, farmers can advertise the jobs through there, but if you're new, you probably don't know about them. And so one of the things is creating these segues and through the relationships. You probably aware of what they've been doing. They've been doing a lot in schools, but I'll share an example. We have a gentleman who's come from overseas. He's very well regarded internationally in Japan and China. So he's an academic, but he's also a very practical guy. We introduced him to IMAS, which is down on the waterfront, because he's a seaweed expert.
Ah, there you go.
Okay. We introduced him to local academics here and local businesses here. He came and spoke at the Oysters Tasmania workshop to share his expertise with how they might address POMS, which was impacting Tasmanian oyster production. There was a virus that got into the oysters. And as a result of that, people are going, wow, I know who he is, I know what he does. How can I use his skills? And I know of one very, very large organisation that has approached him directly to work with him. So he got on the front foot, but he just needed someone to do the relationships, do the introductions. So
I think you're proving that it still is who you know. I met a guy from Zimbabwe who was working in civilians shop last year. He is an engineer. He'd come on skilled migration. He had applied for work and he kept on hearing, you can't get work until you get experience in Australia. On that sort of, and often, I've had people ask me about jobs, and I meet many people who qualified as accountants. I don't know accountants. I just happened to know a retired engineer.
Yeah.
I introduced him. He had a few mates that owed him. He introduced him to a couple of those mates, and this guy now has a job. It just proves that's the way, because so many, and I expect a number of you have heard, you've got to get that experience before we're going to employ you. How do you do that?
Relationships.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And
So if you want accountants,
my point is,
yeah.
Unless people are lucky enough to be able to make those relationships.
Yeah. But I think that's, so I mean, you know, we've heard this morning, that's the role of your department and the people that work with you. You're doing it, I'm doing it, Jade's doing it, I'm sure we're all doing it in our own way. So with accounts, for example, I just happen to know someone and I've done some introduction to others. My point is that because I know someone and I have, you know, I've got a long standing, like we were friends before we even did any of this sort of stuff. We built the relationship. And I think innately, people in Tasmania want to help others, regardless of where we come from. But you have to know somebody, I think. You have to have the segue through. You're talking about Kerry.
Yeah, and then
You're talking about Cyril. I know Cyril. But that's only because we spent 5 years on the enterprise services of Tasmania.
And likewise, it's only because of my role and my engagement. I think it's what you're saying, and yeah, I think it's reinforcing the message I was saying earlier. In Tasmania, probably more than other places in the in Australia that I've been, it is about making those relationships. It's about getting those connections. It's about putting yourself out there and not waiting. The jobs aren't advertised on Seek or that is all the time. It will be about, as you say, it's in LinkedIn or it's on the community website or whatever, or it's about, actually, I met John or Ian or Dave last week at a barbecue. He sounded like a good bloke, and he mentioned that he's an accountant.
I'm not an accountant, but I do know someone that might represent CPAs in Tassie.
So it's about making those connections. And peak organisations are a great place because their job and what they're paid to do is have connections with the industries that you're looking for.
I'd like to add something.
Just
Sorry, I've waited a long time. All these things are really good, but all this networking, there's one thing that's totally missed out here is volunteer work. Okay, you've got to start with volunteer work. That's what I started with. I don't think about money first, because if you volunteer, you keep an open mind, you get in touch with as many organizations as possible. I mean, I have a lot of skills, okay? I come from Malaysia, over 20 years of skills. I've got teaching skills, HR skills, promotions, marketing, human resource management. I come here. Nobody recognized my skills, actually, So what you need is networking, you need to volunteer, So I can speak 4 languages. The first job I got offered is, you can speak 4 languages, be an interpreter. And depends on what language you interpret. My area is, I've got too many jobs, I have to turn down jobs, Because basically, we have a lot of Chinese migrants, which is why my skills are so needed. And when we network, people know you, not just you, but they know your skills. When they know your skills, they look for you. So a lot of time I tell people, I don't actually look for work. The work comes and looks to me. Because I volunteer my services, and people say that, oh, maybe I have a good heart. I actually do a lot of things for no money at all, Oh, we've got a paid job. It could be just 10 hours, it could be just a project, it could be anything, but it doesn't have to be a full-time job. I think for the future, we need to share jobs. There is not enough jobs to go around. Sharing jobs or
create
part-time
jobs.
Okay. Create your own jobs. Remember the first 10-minute video? Creative thinking, problem solving. Think outside the square. The job, people tell me, one young lady I met yesterday, I applied for this job. I got this letter, sorry, we've received 400 applications. How are you going to compete, I
and yet you have very special skills. But then there are people that are neat, they got this job. Where do you come from? Oh, from here, there, mainland. If they need special skills, people go headhunting. That's when you're at the top end. So are you at the top end, or are you at the bottom end, or are you in the middle, or do you want to be an entrepreneur? So think outside the square. All this is really good, but 500 people think the same way as you.
The point that was made before, which I strongly subscribe to, which was, I think we're going to see us have to create jobs into the future. And I would say, and I can say this from my own experiences, those that have come to Australia from other places have overseas networks, overseas relationships already. They come, say, to Tasmania, and we're all sitting here as friends, giving about every one of you has something that you could offer, either as an individual, as a cultural group, or as a collective, that would change your life positively. And I see more and more people from overseas that come here because the skill was on the list, and then they get here and they go, there's no job, because that's the reality. So then they have to create a job, which is the point you were making. There is an entrepreneurial side to this. There is a make a job. But for those of us that perhaps that's not the right timing or whatever, there's always other wonderful services that we can access. And the NICE scheme, for example, so many people have accessed that scheme to help them understand how to start a business in Tasmania, for example. But there are requirements, as we've heard already. So it's sort of like finding the one or the combination that's going to be right for you. It's make the cake. What's the recipe?
Yeah, and I think picking up, oh, sorry.
Correct. So yeah, this is true. The volunteer job only provides for the non-profit organization, right?
Not for profit.
Yeah, non-profit.
Yeah, that's right.
So there are other opportunities for those that maybe aren't in the position to have a volunteer workforce. There are internships, there's work experience, there's a number of other opportunities within there. But yeah, there's a number of where it may not be that you're volunteering in the field that you particularly want to get into, but it's about those skills and also those networks that you build by doing it that can give you that transferable skills. Likewise, if you come on, for example, one of those skilled visas, and you find that actually we're completely full of accountants, but you can have a look and use some of those resources that I've provided you today. Say, okay, well, an accountant has these skill attributes, and I actually wouldn't mind trying my hand at doing something similar, but in a different sector or a different field. It helps you work out where are your strengths and where are the areas that you need to build on or develop. And then it's about just finding those opportunities to get that work experience or to volunteer or to work even in organisations like this. Honestly, today, I think there was 5 people waiting out the front this morning. They were ready, they were organised, they were working as a team, they got the place set up, they were communicating well. They're all things you can put on your CV. Yeah. I was able to help, I helped set up a facility for 30 people. I've done some events management. You can be creative. I mean, I could tell you how to create a light bulb and it would sound like an engineer, but it's just putting in a light bulb. You can be creative with the way that you transfer your skills as well.
To share another story, because it goes to the heart of relationships and networking, we take 3 or 4 interns a year. 90% of our interns we've supported to get a job. Now, we can't take any, as a business, we just can't take any more than that, because the amount of effort, because we actually do it properly. We take it very seriously. We train them, we give them new skills, we get them to work on real projects, the whole lot. So it's because they already come with such great education, and what we're trying to do is sort of give them some immersion and some exposure to our business. But I think many businesses are in the same position. They can only take on 1 or 2 or maybe 3 a year, But that's another really valuable asset. And that's why I think what you're saying is great, because we do it, we've done it for a number of years now. And they get a job because we know someone. It's just how it is.
And certainly volunteering, as you were saying, is brilliant. And volunteering places one place makes one.
Sure.
And I think it really can be. I mean, I think it's important to be doing alongside all the other things.
Yeah.
And just trying to meet people. And the other thing that's so hard for a lot of people coming here is the fact that you have to sell yourself to get a job.
Yeah.
You have to put yourself forward. And this is where one of the points I'm making about understanding diversity. We must understand more that people coming here might not, in an interview, put themselves forward in the way that others know because they've been brought up in this society. There's a lot of that kind of thinking that we need to get into employers' brains.
And just as an example, you talk about the number of applications per job. I can tell you the level of quality in those seeking internships is vertical because of the academic backgrounds that they have. And many of them have previous experience before they came to study in Australia, for example. So it's competitive all the way around. And that's why I suspect that we're going to make more jobs than...
What I'd like to mention is that question, that you can't volunteer in an organization or context, but you have to think outside the square. Just because you're volunteering in a not-for-profit doesn't mean you don't learn anything.
I'd say complete opposite,
project management, organizational skills, interpersonal skills. So don't think about, I go to San Diego, I learn nothing.
No, let me give you an example. So let me give you an example. We ran a program called the Regional Employment Trials up in the north of the state last year. And we had, it was a city mission who were doing it. And they had people come and volunteer to work in their op shops, to work in their, collect their, the donations and so forth. And they did a fantastic job of it. And the one thing that I really liked about that was they actually had essentially a skills list that people were, as they were working through their op shop, they were working through that, they were saying, this person can do FPOS machines. These people know how to do stock control. These people know how to do these things. They are sellable skills that you will then be able to promote to your next job.
You learn logistics, you know? You learn how to understand the process. So this process is the same in every organization, whether it's not about so you must look at things that way. You must look at things in the whole picture. And not just, it's a money-making thing, they're doing things the right way. They are not making money, so that's what it is.
I think the other... I think the other point that was really important from your presentation today, and I hope everybody heard this as I heard it, was that often when we're looking for work, or if we haven't had work for a while, our confidence can be down. And so those that are eligible for some of those programs, they're about building some confidence, some self-esteem and reconnecting. But for many people who are maybe not permanent residents or Australian citizens or on pathways, for example, are there any other channels that are available for people that perhaps want to understand Australian law, employment, business, something that would give them a bit more tangible data, I guess, for choice of better words, in relation to what it is like to work in an Australian business? What are some of the attributes so that they have a bit more confidence when they're doing the research that you suggested and formulating a response?
Look,
sorry, big question.
Yeah, that was quite a question, Ian. I guess I'd refer you back to some of those websites that I've provided in the presentation. There are a number of videos within there that can give you that understanding of what business are doing. The LMIP website, which is the first one on the slide.
Sorry, can you say it again?
LMIP, Labour Market Information Portal.
Yep.
The department surveys businesses on their recruiting needs and their recruiting experiences. And they provide a report every 3 months, and they tell you what business want, what business need, what business are having trouble with. And that might be an opportunity. LMI, I for India.
IP,
Yep.
IP.
So it's called the Labour Market Information Insights, I believe.
Profile or?
So
Yeah.
the website's LMIP. It's on the slide
The
pack that I
first
gave
one,
you.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Other than that, certainly the Job Active website have a number of videos, again, from employers about what they're looking for. And I know a number of the peak bodies, for example, Tas Fruit Growers, and also people like the aged care sector, and also the National Skills Commissioner, are all putting together websites from industry and about industry. They're talking about the profiles, they're talking about what they want, they're talking about what does it mean to work in this particular business? What can I expect out of a working day on a strawberry farm or in an aged care centre or wherever it might be. There are lots of resources out there on the website. It's certainly look at those ones that I've given you today as a good starting point, because you'll also find usually when you go to one of those websites, there'll be a link down the bottom, or a Google will throw you up something similar, and you go, oh, well, that's interesting. Have a look on YouTube, have a look on those sort of avenues as well about what does business want. Again, they will be Anglo-Saxon orientated probably. They will, but they will give you an insight into business, and certainly the National Skills Commission are doing a huge amount of work around industry and sector profiles at the moment. And even from what you can expect to earn to what sort of skills you need, to what's the projection, is this job going to be here more or less in 5 years, 10 years, or is it going to be one of those dying industries, and maybe you should look at something else? Yeah,
I'm really glad you included the last one, because that's one I'm aware of, and I think that's sort of it's giving you some insight to the future, as you say, and I think that's something that if I was starting out again, starting to build my relationships or building my career, whether it's one I make or whether I work for someone, knowing or having a bit of insight about where maybe the next 5 years is going is really quite helpful, because I see a lot of people put a lot of time and effort into things that are fantastic ideas, but they're fantastic ideas that are about to pass them by. And I think that's the nature of where we are as well.
Sharon, before you answer, can I ask a question coming from the online participant? He said a lot of the internship actually are reserved for students instead of graduates. So for this participant, he has 6 years of experiences, but he can't find work. So is the only option left volunteering for not-for-profit?
Now, I also work with because okay, you just like encouraging all universities to volunteer, and that will appear in the not as a certificate, but in the DC. CV, and that will help them get a job. So the fact that your volunteers have experience in some organization, whether it is for profit or not for profit, is an asset. We can add that to you. So that we are already doing at the university. So when you're on your own and if you volunteer, when you go for interview, for example, tell the boss, oh, I've done that. It looks very good.
I would say though, one of the key points from your presentation this morning was you can have a university degree, but it's the vocational skills that also give you, and I was a master's lecturer at UTAS for 10 years, and I would see a lot of the students leave UTAS with their master's degree and come back and do a vocational qual, and that vocational qual was the thing that got them into a job, if I could say that.
Sorry, it will get to you very soon. I just have a response to the question. Sorry, Melanie, I know you waited for a long time. I heard from someone that if they get a master's degree, they cannot go backwards for a lower degree. So can they still get vocational training by policy?
I can tell you from my own experience, lots of university graduates with postgraduate qualifications, not just masters or honours, but even doctorates, have gone and undertaken a vocational qualification.
So just a certificate?
Diploma or certificate?
It's allowed by government?
Of course.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Lifelong learning. It's something that everyone should be.
Yeah. But
Short term, okay, but not a degree.
Yeah.
Okay.
However, it's hard to get a student visa. If someone here has a master background and do a diploma or other certificate, which need that for the apply the student. If they not need the visa, that's fine. But if they also need that to apply a visa, it is a risk the visa got declined.
So you have to meet your visa requirements. I'm not suggesting that's not the case.
Gotcha.
But what I am saying is that I have seen a lot of students who are very well qualified in the university sector step back and do some vocational training, and that has been the thing that's got them the job, because they have this higher degree and then they also have the practical skills, because the vocational side often has some work placement or something attached to work. So aged care, we just heard that the care sector is going to be one of the highest ones. That particular, I would agree with you completely. I'm a very strong supporter of your sentiment there. But my point is that a lot of those programs have work placement. And when you do your work placement, it introduces you to a workplace. And many people find employment that way. But not all of us are suited to that industry, for example. Like, I can't do it. My sister's done it for years and years and years. So she's postgraduate qualified, run aged care facilities, works in palliative and aged care. Basically, you meet people for a short time. She loves it, but that is who she is. I can't do it. But she is never out of work.
Okay. So can I ask Marian?
Okay.
Yeah, you waited a long time, sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry.
I need to listen to all the idea as well, so there's no worry about waiting for a long time. I have been in Tasmania long enough to understand about so many differences from the migrant. And for the young migrant, like the children, when they migrated to Australia, they have no problem because they have excellent education in Australia, so they have no problem of finding the job, having qualification, etc. But I'm talking about the most of the over middle age people, and they are struggling for finding a job, and their qualification are not recognized in Australia. And as from my personal issue, I understand it's not only Vietnamese qualification. No qualification in any country can be accepted in Australia without testing. So that I understand that one of their problems. And they have plenty of experience. But here, if the young people go to work, have a good qualification, but don't have a good experience, they have plenty of work experience, but don't have the qualification in Australia. And they don't want to become, to live on those. They want to use their skill. But their image is not good enough to sell themselves, like you show on the screen about the diagram is only 25% for skin, but 38% for the personality. So they're not good enough to show their good personality, including their experience and etc. So that is the problem. And so they don't want to become a heavy burden for the taxpayer. They don't want that.
No.
They want to contribute, you're saying, want to work.
Yes, they want to use their skill to get a job somewhere, but they couldn't. They have been struggling until nowadays. So my question is now, because of the problem of the program I have been last month and today, so I want to complete the the problem to hear on the idea. So that's why today I come. I have no problem about getting the job, but I still would like to come and to see what the government. My question now is, so the people like I have mentioned, they are over middle age. They're not too young to have studies. They are not too old to retire, and they don't want to live on those. And even they feel a bit ashamed about living on support from family, but they couldn't find a job. So my question is, and they are quite a lot, it's not few, because I have been here, it's a long enough since 2003. I can see in my community, I can see someone else of my community, so I can see quite a lot of the skilled people. And one of my friends in Melbourne, not here, is lucky they are there. So she took the husband to the job interview. She explained to interviewer before coming, and then after that, the husband is excellent IT person. And at the interview, the interviewer said, he has an excellent CV and excellent skill and experience. But if he has good English like you, we will take him straight away. So now I come back to my question. I would like to ask you. So the question, so you know my question. So, if the government have any way to encourage such skilled people, or to encourage them or recognize in the limitation way, I don't know. So, or to support them so they can contribute to the society.
Sure.
We not to become a burden of the taxpayer. So if the government can think about that and have any way, support them, recognize them in the way the government can do, so they can involve them in the workforce.
Okay, if I understand you correctly, Malian, you're saying, is there a government program or in the future about that can get over the language barrier for those highly qualified professionals? And then, yeah.
Yeah.
And
remember the video say what skills you need to have. The most important skill is communication skill.
yeah.
You can have a PhD in rocket science, but if it is not in English, you're not going to get a double negative.
Yeah, and Cheryl.
Communication skill is very important. So I don't think the government is not helping or is not discriminating against anyone.
That's not what.
Yeah.
Malian, want to add something?
May I add only one to prove for what I'm missing? And in last month, in fact, the last month, one participant raised the question in that
last month
session,
yeah.
in the section, Chinese Vietnamese section.
Yeah.
One might raise that question because she got a skilled husband and now live on those, and then what the lady who talked on
Lucy from Hobart City Council?
Yes.
Yeah.
and asked her
Yeah.
to send her email about that case. That case is a typical case. He has so many schemes, but one scheme to make the glass house.
Yeah.
So they live on the government house, and then they make a huge glass house.
Yeah.
And government housing department came and to tell them here is government house, it's not the private one. So we have to pull it out. And then when they came back, they gave them a ring straight away. Please don't pull it out. It's very professional. And very, it's an excellent new style about the glass house. So don't pull it out, really. And otherwise they have to pull it out. So that is only one of his schemes. He has the other scheme.
Sorry, I have to interrupt here because I believe we understand you. He has all different kind of skill except one, language. Therefore, he cannot be used. And your question is there resources to get over the barrier? Sharon said there's 500 hours. I already got news that there's unlimited hours now. It just got released from the government.
I was going to say there's
So actually, this is an opportunity for training facilities to train for professional, like work conversation for adults. Problem
Yeah,
solved.
I was going to say there's probably
Language teaching, English teaching, it's got to be more relevant. It's got to be more every day as well.
Yeah, for the work environment, you know, have a scenario playing, you know, if I'm an IT person, I go into a company, how do I get my client's requirement, you know, etc.
Can I maybe put in a couple of pieces if you like?
waited long
And
enough.
look, I think there was quite a bit in your question, but I think on the topic of language and literacy, certainly that is, and you know, we saw in the slides, communication is important to employers, and we are in a competitive job market. And if you've got 50 people, you know, applying for a job, they as the employer have the right to choose, you know, the person that best fits their needs. I think as individuals, there are a number of supports that you can access and support through government to help with both language and literacy, as well as some things you can take on yourself. So certainly there's the Adult Migrant English Program, and certainly, you know, there's requirements for all of these things, but C is the other one. So there's the Skills for Education and Employment. And that is a fantastic opportunity, and that is very much now geared to industry needs as well. So they've, for example, just started running some CSEE, so snake, egg, egg.
CSEE, yeah.
No C, so just
S.
snake, egg, egg.
Snake, egg.
So C is around education for employment and
Education for employment, okay.
Skills for education and employment. They run a number of courses and have also been working with it's run through TAS, TAFE and Max Employment, but they run a number of industry-focused programs where they will do language and literacy for a particular, agriculture. So it might be that you're learning English, but it's around terms and things that are useful for that particular employer. And they've also got links into industry. So they may be, again, that network, that little snippet where you're sitting there in your C class and you have a conversation with someone and they will get to go, oh, you've got some skills or some experience in doing that. How about you come have an interview with me, or, you know, have those things. I think the other thing is, of course, you know, it would be very frustrating if you've come across from somewhere else and you were previously a qualified doctor or accountant or engineer and so forth. And there's certainly processes where for some countries and for some qualifications, there is skills recognition and there's a process to go through to get those qualifications recognised. Not all will. And sometimes it might mean going back to school, going back to education to relearn or to get the Australian version of the qualification. But hopefully if you've already done it and you've already been living it, that process will be a lot easier. And guess what? In the process, you'll also have an opportunity to practice language. You'll have opportunities to network, to do that work experience components of it and so forth. So I think that is the other opportunities. And then, I mean, there are, but certainly, you know, not all qualifications will be recognised, and sometimes there's a very good reason for that.
Yeah, 1 year is doable. Yeah.
Mm. And it's also, you know, the other thing I'd suggest though is also thinking about, okay, I learned all these skills, all these qualifications, and I did all these sort of things. What are the attributes of that job that could help me transfer into another job here in Australia?
Attributes.
And and again, that Skills Finder website and some of the others help you plug in, okay, I used to do this, and it will say, okay, well, based on what you've put in, you appear to have really good communication. You appear to have these things. These are the type, but you might be, say, weaker in language. Well, here's some jobs that might pick up some of your key attributes where maybe language isn't such a big barrier. Or it might be about practicing that language as well. It might be about going, you know, talking in community, working with volunteers, doing other things that help you develop some of those things that might have been a barrier. Yeah, you can sometimes turn into a strength, or you can overcome those barriers by picking up your other strengths.
Just as an example on that, I have a Sikh family that I'm very good friends with. They're not in Tasmania, they're in Victoria. She's a general practitioner. She's from Malaysia. She studied in Russia. She has to work under other general practitioners until she gets her full Australian registration. She's diversified by using those extra skills. So she's now moved into community care. So she runs education programs for aged care, mental health, those sorts of things. So she's using her medical background and her medical practice, but she's actually deploying it within local communities in the vocational setting. Yeah. So I think the general consensus is, even for us, you know, for me, we're always having to reinvent ourselves for business. So it's not a unique thing because you come from another country. Yes, it is harder perhaps for sure, and I think you're all very brave because it is harder. But looking for those cross skills, I think, as you pointed out, very, very important. And my experience is that most of us have more than one skill. So, you know, if there's an opportunity, maybe explore it.
Can I, Sharon, can you hold a sec? Because we're running a long time now. I think people need a break, have some drink and something to eat. Because we did plan to ask the participants to bring their individual cases as case analysis. Given your situation, which resources we mentioned before can be useful. So can we take a break? 10 minutes?
Sure. So I went way over my 20 minutes.
Talking, our discussion went along.
To have